Continuing on the basic operation tutorial here. I was reviewing the instructions very carefully here because they're quite different from escape velocity. If there's a criticism of Naev is that there's a little bit of a learning curve, or basically there shouldn't. Basically it should be just a step up from escape velocity, but there are quite a lot of alterations to it. I mentioned in the Ares playthrough that the interface is a lot like Ares, actually. Especially with this zooming in and out and having different menus for different ranges, essentially. And using squares for planets, notice, too. This point-and-click navigation on the map is something distinct to Naev, I think, though. In this series, anyway. So you hit Tab to call up this in-system map, and then you can use your right-click to fly your ship to a specific point on the map. And here I was actually struggling with that because I didn't realize it was right-click. I didn't read the instructions carefully enough. There is heavy use of right-click in Naev, which makes it rather un-Mac, actually, you could say. And as I've mentioned before, the beta for Windows is more advanced at this point than Mac OS, because it's on beta 7, whereas the Mac OS 10 version is stuck on 6.1. But so here they're showing you how to board ships, so you can target the ship just like in escape velocity, and then you try and move in on it. Here I'm struggling with the controls again because I'm inexperienced with this particular layout. One other thing I didn't know yet was that you can point your ship at your target with the Q button, the Q key. They mention that later, but it doesn't help me in this case. So I'm circling round and round this thing. That ship resembles the Hawk a little bit from escape velocity. Not an exact copy, but it's very similar. So now they want me to land on a planet called Paul, which I have to wonder if it's an in-joke about some member of the development team, or possibly the Paul coffee house chain, because I would imagine that the team working on Naev are very international, as is usually the case on these projects. Paul aren't particularly popular in the United States, but they're very, very popular in Europe. Here I'm struggling with the navigation controls again, but finally I make it to Paul. And you use the L key, like in escape velocity, to land, and notice how it fades into the atmosphere there, realistically. So then comes the exploration and discovery tutorial, because unlike in escape velocity, you don't discover things simply by jumping into a system. You have to find the basically jump point out of a system, and typically that means buying the map in whatever the local planet is, which can be rather challenging actually. So here they're showing the point and click navigation again. And so you even have to discover individual planets in a system, and as they're explaining there, you discover the planets more easily than the moons because their mass is higher. So they're trying to be realistic. Now, as you will see, because I rushed through the instructions, I screwed up what I was supposed to be doing here, and I got confused. So I try to land, and then because this is the tutorial, it's blocked, so I can't do it. We at least get a look at these two. I think it's actually not two planets, but it's supposed to be a planet and a moon, to demonstrate the differences in how you interact with them. So here I'm attempting to... It says navigate to the marker on the map, but I'm at the marker, so I clearly have skipped a step here. Screwed something up. So I go back eventually to the beginning of the tutorial to figure out what I'm doing. So, info. This is another problem. They only tell you to do something once. So, it's rather easy to get confused in the tutorial. Actually, to be fair though, the tutorial is much more thorough than the present Wikipedia, or not even Wikipedia page, but wiki that they have for the project. It is far easier to learn the game this way. So here they're telling me what I already know. And now I have to pay more careful attention. So I actually read what they have to say. There is still one thing left in this system for you to find. Jump point. But that still doesn't answer my question. So I'm just going to try and very carefully follow their instructions. Continuing onward, because that's what the instructions seem to be indicating, is that I'm only supposed to pass the planet and the moon. And eventually, there we go. They give me a marker for the jump point. So I have to go to the marker they've given me on the map, in system map. And they're mentioning the bar, because that's an important part of all the Escape Velocity games, plus Naev, although strangely not included in Endless Sky, which is one of my gripes about Endless Sky. I generally like Endless Sky, but that's one of the things that I think they could add. We're already concluding the exploration and discovery tutorial. And I'm still a little bit puzzled as to why, because we never found the jump point. But that's what we're going to study next. Interstellar Flight. In this tutorial you will learn yada yada. And jump points are the only places where you may enter hyperspace, and once you do, you will appear near the jump point heading the other way. I don't really know what they mean by heading the other way, because normally when I use a jump point, I come out the other end heading the same way, but maybe they mean something different. So they've already discovered the jump point for you in this. So they're also explaining the auto navigation feature, which is how I've been finding these for the most part. I'm just not a very skilled Naev player yet. We're going to jump out of this system here. And if I use auto nav to go in this direction, it's going to jump automatically. But I run out of time, so we'll do that in the next video.